Hi, my name's David S. Jameson, and I'm going to be reading a chapter a week from my new book, The Lost Cactus. The book's taken me 4 years. I'm going to release it on the 17th of October on Amazon. The story concerns the goings-on of a 23-year-old office worker from Basingstoke who discovers his office workplace is not quite what he thought it was. The dwarfs are in a union. Penguins can be a little short-tempered, and gnomes are really stupid creatures. In fact, Daniel Howard, the name of our hero, discovers that the world is full of magic, that cacti go missing, and if you ever want to get on at work, don't marry a witch. The Lost Cactus is a modern take on fantasy. It combines humour with some real-life issues, but most of all, it's been written to provide the reader with an escape from everyday life, a bit of fun in a world where magic means pacifying a sarcastic wand, staying within the guidelines of health and magic at work, and sometimes it's okay to ignore the union rules if you've been attacked by a dragon. If after watching me embarrass myself reading the opening chapter you want to discover more about the Lost Cactus, then you can follow me as I struggle to make inroads into my advertising campaign on Twitter. That's at ds_Jameson, or you can follow me on Facebook at David S. Jameson. That's enough of me prattling on. Let's go on with the first chapter then. The Lost Cactus, Chapter 1, Daniel Howard. Bleep, bleep, bleep. The alarm went off at 6 o'clock as usual, the small digital clock bleeping its cheerful tune, incessantly happy with itself but unaware of the annoyance being caused to the occupant of the bed just 2 feet away. In response, Daniel raised his dishevelled head slowly from the pillow and scanned his surroundings. Underwhelmed, he allowed his head to flop back down and his eyelids to droop. The clock continued to bleep merrily next to him, fulfilling its lifelong wish to rouse people from their slumber. Bleep, bleep, bleep. Daniel wondered how a clock could be so annoyingly smug. Utterly oblivious, the offending timepiece continued to chirp away. Could a clock be happier than him? Daniel thought perhaps it was, and yawned in disapproval before his hand emerged from beneath the duvet and pressed the cancel button on top. Another day had dawned for Daniel Howard, and he had hardly slept yet again due to the strange dreams that had filled his slumber. Throughout the night he had tossed and turned as the latest in a series of nightmares played out in his subconscious, leaving him sweaty and disoriented on waking. During the past fortnight, the unwelcome visions had overwhelmed his sleep, flooding it with bizarre images of talking plants, and then waking him with the sound of distant voices still whispering in his ears. Through the subsequent mornings, the image of a snake crawling down the corridor, or memories of a stranger strumbling across the desert would haunt him for hours afterwards. Even more worryingly, during the day, he found himself unable to shake off the notion that he was being constantly watched from the shadows, studied by 2 evil yellow eyes. Yawning, Daniel lay in bed exhausted and stared without blinking at the magnolia ceiling where the image of a talking cactus had been imprinted upon the white background by his brain. He rubbed his eyes and let out another yawn. Crap! What is happening to me? Is this what my life has come to? He looked at the ceiling in despair and was not surprised it ignored him. Should have taken some tips from Harry. Daniel spoke to the magnolia vista as he thought enviously of his elder brother. He yawned again as he pictured his brother's idyllic life with his beautiful wife and 2 gorgeous children. Shaking away his jealous thoughts, he stared despondently. It still hadn't responded. Fixing his magnolia companion with a raised eyebrow and a grimace, he thought about his life and accepted, if he was to be honest with himself, that at one point it had been going quite well. At work he had gained a rapid promotion and had earned enough money for a car. But after the second promotion, he'd moved into the flat with her, and it had all gone wrong. The promotions at work mysteriously slowed after she'd attended the office Christmas party. In the aftermath, the social invitations had dried up, and now few of his co-workers would barely acknowledge his existence. Even his brother Harry and family seemingly abandoned him. Then to top things off, she'd left him at the altar. Without warning, she'd disappeared 2 months ago, without a word and just 2 days before the special occasion. leaving him with a mortgage he couldn't afford and a hole in his heart he couldn't fill. Now he could barely afford to feed himself. Yet even with the acknowledgement of betrayal that she'd inflicted upon him, he knew he would take her back in an instant. So with his heart aching for her reluctant smile, a touch from her slender fingers, or a glance from her dark and sultry eyes, Daniel peered across wistfully at the picture of Aradia beside his bed. She stared back indifferently. A smile briefly touched Daniel's face before he rose and made his way to the small bathroom, where he brushed his teeth, shaved and showered away the night. Yawning once again, he rubbed his eyes and appraised himself in the mirror. He could see that the small bulge at his waist had grown, producing 2 small love handles. In response to the pair of unwanted extras that clung to his torso, he sucked in his stomach while puffing out his chest and tried to smile. The smile faded. Crap. He'd let himself go since he'd dropped out of university 3 years previously, and his days of captaining the rugby team seemed an eternity ago. I need some work. Might go to the gym tonight, Daniel said to himself, then recalled that he didn't have a current gym membership. Probably not then. Might just go to the pub. Having given up on the ceiling, he conversed with only himself and concluded with a knowing smile. Then a movement caught his eye and he frowned at the silent companion above, letting out a yelp as a snake had materialised on its surface. In response to the cry of alarm, the snake turned into a cactus, and Daniel let out another sigh of relief as he realised it was all in his imagination. "You complete bastard!" Daniel swore at the ceiling, apologising after shaking off the image of the cactus. Despondently he dressed, then breakfast and, content no more snakes would emerge from above, picked up his rucksack before he left the flat through the tiny entrance hall, grabbing a music magazine from the lobby table as he went. Stepping out into the empty corridor, he locked the door and spun when he sensed someone behind him. Nobody. And the corridor was empty. Daniel drove away the anxiety and made his way down the corridor past his neighbour's apartment, while he pondered the secretive Professor Mortimer, the spindly man who had moved into the complex 2 weeks before. As he passed, unseen, 2 yellow eyes followed him, and the hairs on the back of his neck bristled. Daniel shuddered as he considered how little he trusted the lanky new addition to his apartment block. Slowly he turned, and to his relief he saw that the professor's door was closed. He did not see the orbs that stood at him, eyed him with malevolence and loathing. As a chill shot up his spine, Daniel felt he didn't want to remain in that corridor any longer, and pushed open the front door. Bursting out into the rain, he rushed across the street to his old blue Golf and, after briefly fumbling for his keys, threw open the driver's door and jumped into the seat, slamming the door behind him. Through the rain-drenched window, he glanced back at the door to his apartment block. Phew, no spying professors. Oh, crap, crap, crap! In disgust, Daniel threw the ruined periodical onto the passenger seat, ruining the fact he'd used his music magazine in an attempt to stop his hair getting wet. To add to his annoyance, long black locks of wet hair flopped into his eyes. Cursing again, he pushed the wet hair back from his face before fastening his seatbelt. Click, clunk, work. Glancing into the rearview mirror, he spoke to his reflection with mock enthusiasm. Right, to the office then. I wonder what's new in the wonderful and exciting world of business. He knew the answer was nothing, but always kept a glimmer of hope. Some people that think that the glimmer of light is the way out. Others think it's life waiting for them. And still others believe it's a light at the end of the tunnel. Though he didn't know it, for Daniel, that glimmer of hope was the headlight of an oncoming train. And soon he will be trapped in its beam like a startled rabbit. And it was a bloody big train. That's the end of chapter 1. For this week, I'm going to read both chapter 2 and chapter 3, and then subsequently I'll follow up one chapter a week until the end of the book. And thank you very much for listening.